Hi guys, welcome back to another video in I Love Coding. So today in this video what we're going to be seeing is how to create this stopwatch. Pretty simple and easy to make using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is how the stopwatch works. So here it is. Without any further ado, let's jump into the video. As usual, we'll start by creating a folder in our desktop. So we'll go to new folder, stopwatch, and we'll open this with code. We'll create our HTML, CSS and JavaScript files. So first, we'll create the basic body outline structure. So we'll do ML abbreviation, and then we'll call this stopwatch. Now the timer that you saw in the middle, that will be in a div and in the ID stopwatch, and inside that div we'll give the timings. Now we'll create the start, stop and reset buttons. So we'll use an unordered list for this, and we'll give the ID of buttons for it. And inside that we'll create 3 lists. So in each of these lists we'll have a button, and each of them would have an on-click function. So on-click, what we wanted to do. So the first one would be a start button. So the function would be start timer. Let's call this timer. So we have a difference. It's not just start. So the next would be a stop. Stop, and the function for this would be stop timer. And similarly for reset. So reset timer. So this is our basic HTML. Now we'll open it with live server. Now we'll link the CSS file. We'll do link CSS and similarly JavaScript. We'll go to style. We'll give it a body color. So body. Now the background, I want it to be a bit in the middle of like brown and black. So I found this HTML. So hashtag 2020. And then the color to be white, so then it's like stands out there. So once you save it, you'll see okay, so there's a difference. First we'll go ahead and create the button. Focus on each button. So button, and we want each of the buttons to have a width of around like 100 pixels. So it's put there, and then the height of 30 pixels. Now we'll go to the border and we'll give it 3 pixels. We'll keep it solid, and we'll also give it a white border. So if you closely look, there'll be a difference. This is a slight grayish. This one has white. That's the difference that is there. And we want a border radius, so it's like a bit circular. So we'll do border radius of 50 pixels. So we have the curvature out there in the end. Now what we want to do is, we want the background, it should be looking like this, just that curve and the letters. So what we'll do is, we'll give it a background similar colors, so we'll keep it hashtag 2020, and then we'll give it a color of white. So it will look like this there. Yeah, that's what we want to do. And we want the cursor to be pointer. So when you hover over this, change into the hand symbol, and we'll give it an outline of none. By the end you will see, I'll show you why this outline none actually matters. You won't see anything much here now, but when you go ahead and you look at the end product, you will see how important that outline none is to that whole design of the page. Next we'll go ahead to the stopwatch. We'll do hashtag stopwatch. First we'll increase the font size. We'll put the font size to be 100 pixels. So you have that big. Now what we want is, we want the top, we'll like align it to the center, and we'll keep it responsive. So before we go ahead and align it to the center and keep it responsive, we want to give the position to be absolute. So first we'll do the top, we'll keep it 45%, and we'll do the left, and we'll keep it 50%. Now actually it looks like a bit to the side, not exactly in the center because of the position absolute. Make it center using the transform. Translate x-axis first, then the y-axis. So minus 50 for the x, and minus 55 for the y. Now you can see it's like in the center. Yeah, that's what transform. Now we'll go ahead and do the buttons. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do hashtag buttons. It will be the same way. We won't include the font size and all. We'll keep the position to be absolute, and we'll give it a top of, let's say, 55% and a left of like 48.4% and transform. Translate, same way. First the x-axis, so that will be 51.6%, and next the top, so minus 45%. You can see it's like there. You know, it's like perfectly fitting in there. Now we don't want it to be like this list, so we want it next to each other. So we'll do hashtag buttons li, and we'll do display inline. What this does is a bit of a magic. It's like pretty cool. Just keeps it in line and removes the dots too. Gone. Awesome, right? And now we'll do a padding left, so there's a gap between each of them. So padding left will be 10 pixels. That's the gap. Now what I thought I'll do is, when hover over it, it changes to cursor, but I wanted the color also to change. So what I did was I did button, hover, and we'll do just a small change. We'll do background to be white, and then the color of the text to be hashtag 2020. So when you hover over it, it changes the color. So it goes with the background. So const timer, and what's this? It's a document. Dot get element by id, and the id of that is stopwatch. Next we'll create the variables for each of them, so hours, seconds. So where hours, var min, and var seconds. Now for the start and the stop, I thought of using a boolean value, and now it's the time to stop, so we'll give it true. So before we go ahead and create the functions which are mentioned here, so we'll just copy it. Start timer, stop timer, and reset timer. So we need all of these functions. So we'll do function start timer. I'll do this, but just 1 second. Stop timer, reset timer. So before we go ahead and write all these functions, I want to make the main function out here, which is how the clock is running. So that function is called timer cycle. That's what I have named it. You can name it whatever you want. When do we want it to run? Only when the stop time is false. So stop time is equal to false. Only then it should be running. As you can see, this is a string. Because you'll see why this is a string. So I'm gonna change the hours, minutes, and seconds to an integer. So we do that by pass int, the keyword. You'll see why I've changed it to an integer. Minutes and hours. So now what's the first thing? Second should be increased by 1. So sec is equal to sec plus 1. That's there. Now next is our if. That is that if seconds reach 60, you should increase the minutes and make seconds to 0, and once minutes reach 60, you should make minutes to be 0 and seconds to be 0, and hours should be increased by 1. That's what we gotta do. So sec is equal to 60. So that time we want the minutes to be increased by 1 and the seconds to be equal to 0. And similarly for minutes. So if minutes is equal to 60, we want hours to be increased by 1 and minutes to be equal to 0, and just for we'll do seconds equal to 0 also. What's the next is, whenever your hours, minutes or seconds are less than 10 or 0, that case we want another 0 to be added, because you know numbers, they just have one digit, right? One character. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll do if sec is less than 10 or sec is equal to 0. I'll show you guys how it works. So sec should be equal to 0 plus. Now this is where seconds from an integer changes to string. That's why I had to add this in the beginning. And similarly for minutes are less than 10 and minutes are equal to 0. On the minutes to be equal to 0 plus minutes. And similarly for hours. Hours is less than 10. Hours should be equal to 0 plus hours. So that's done. Now what we want to do is we want it to be displayed in the timer. So we do timer dot inner HTML equal to r plus min plus seconds. Now this is done, the main function, but we want this function to be run every 1 second. So that what we'll do is set timeout, and the function is set timer cycle. So timer cycle, and we want it to be running every 1000 milliseconds. That's a second. So this is the main function. Now I'll go to writing the start timer function. So here if stop time is equal to true, stop time to be equal to false, and we want the timer cycle to be run. So this is the start timer function. Next the stop timer. If stop time is equal to false, we want the stop time to be changed to true. And the reset timer, we want the timer in HTML to be 00 0 0 0 0. That's it. That's reset timer. So it's pretty simple. Yeah. So sorry, I forgot to add this. Whenever you do the reset, the hours, minutes, and seconds should be changed. So start, stop, start, start. So how many other times you click, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna do any errors out there. Stop, stop, stop. Reset, and again start and just start. Stop. Thank you for watching this, and if you guys enjoyed this video, do give a like and consider subscribing, because we'll be coming up with videos quite often. So here we are to the end. Thanks a lot.